Hello, everybody. Hello, my name is Sylvester, and I'm Whitmore. We're two little foxes just talking about college football. Now, this is the episode where we talk about the ACC and how much of a dumpster fire clown show it is. Do we really have an opinion about that? No, we don't. We're just little foxes. But we do know somebody who does. Give us 1 minute. Ta da! Hey guys, this is Stephen Vitte reporting again. Don't adjust your screen. This is Bobcat Corner, episode 12. And I just wanted to start things off a little bit differently than I normally would. Just wanted to give you guys a little bit of entertainment along the way before we get into the more serious stuff. Now, as you just saw there a minute ago, brought a couple of friends with me, Sylvester and Whitmore. Yeah, these are just little props that I can use over some time to basically illustrate my opinion about certain things. But anyway, how are you guys doing? We have a slightly different setup here for this episode, so hopefully everything goes well here. When it comes to the serious talk, though, all kidding aside, to this, let's get to the serious talk here. This episode is about the ACC. Now, if you're a college football fan and you're fully aware of what's going on with conference realignment, you would know that the ACC is definitely in the crossfire right now when it comes to those kinds of talks, and for good reason. Because last couple years, we've seen the ACC really dig into a lot of, let's just say it, questionable situations where they themselves could have easily got out of it, and they chose not to. But anyway, if you recall in recent times that the ACC has been filing lawsuits against and having lawsuits filed against them, whether in court battling the likes of Florida State University and Clemson, just to name a couple. And it is possible that maybe in the future other ACC schools will file lawsuits against the conference for wanting to get out of the conference and wanting to set the record straight when it comes to the payment figure as to how much it's going to be for these schools to get out of the conference. Now, on the more serious note, we have to identify the main parts of these legal battles. And these are just preliminary hearings. We haven't even gotten to a full blown trial yet with any of this. But you see all these motions, you see all these hearings, you see all these court appearances with different state judges. Judge Bledsoe in North Carolina and Judge Cooper down in the state of Florida. And as you can clearly tell, if you've been paying attention to these court hearings, that these two judges have different viewpoints as to how to handle the process. I will touch up more on that in a minute. But first of all, I want to talk about jurisdiction. This is just my opinion. I'm not a legal expert by any means. I'm not a lawyer. I don't pretend to be one, and I'm not going to be one. So that's just a little footnote there. But when it comes to jurisdiction, the cases that involve the ACC and all of its members, it does not just it doesn't just impact one state. Yes, the ACC is mainly headquartered in the state of North Carolina, And of course, North Carolina would be a state impacted by all this, by all the money distributions, by all the contractual obligations and things like that. But here's the thing. In my opinion, it is not just about the state of North Carolina that's going to be impacted here. You have to address the issues that are going to impact the states of Florida, Florida State, the state of South Carolina, which Clemson is in, and the state of North Carolina, of course, but other states, Georgia, Georgia Tech, and other states, even New York with Syracuse. So don't just think that the state of North Carolina, just because it has the ACC headquartered in it, don't just factor that in when it comes to, okay, who has jurisdiction here, who can hear the case and who can't, because that's really a non-factor when you look into it. It impacts every single state in the ACC. Okay, guys? So you can't just have it in one state when you know that you have many members that span different states. It's not going to work otherwise. Secondly, and probably more importantly, if you guys pay attention to what's going on with these court hearings, quote unquote trade secrets. Now, I'm sure you guys know what I mean by that. Trade secrets. ESPN is at the heart of these um, contractual negotiations. It's very much highlighted in all these talks when it comes to the ACC. They are basically bound by ESPN at every turn, at every twist and turn. And there's a good reason for that. The ESPN agreements are tied hand in hand with the ACC grant of rights. And that's another topic I'm going to talk about here in a minute, the grant of rights. The ESPN agreements, the ones that they had with ACC, they're absolutely 100% relevant. They should be made public. Now, I know that's going to be a controversial take because many people are saying, oh, ESPN can't have their thing, re- revealed like that. ESPN can't have their contracts revealed out for the public to see. I beg to differ because we're talking about, oh, you're inflicting harm on the ACC or ESPN. Well, what do you think they're doing with their verbiage, with their language of the contracts that they use? They're turning around and inflicting harm on everybody else, not just Florida State and not just Clemson, everybody else. So we, the public, have every right to know what big corporate organizations like ESPN are doing with our tax-paying money. Okay, because I guarantee you, some of our tax-paying money, no matter what state you live in, it goes right back to organizations like ESPN in some way. And that's just more of like a sketchy technical detail that I'm not going to get into because I'm not totally informed about that. But anyway, the trade secrets, they're always claiming, oh, they're trade secrets. We got to protect our trade secrets. No, you don't. The only reason why you guys are saying that, the head honchos at ACC, ESPN, etc., the only reason why you're saying that is because you know you have something to hide. Now, it's just my opinion. It's not totally educated of an opinion, but it is an opinion. ACC and the ESPN, ACC and ESPN, they both have something to hide. If you read the fine print of the grant of rights, you're going to know that it ties back to the ESPN agreement. It doesn't go anywhere else. They're linked. They're together. You can't just separate them. If you have a discovery phase, where we get to see the actual language of the ESPN ACC agreement, then we can better identify what the ACC grant of rights is, what it is. Because right now there's a lot of confusion because you're just reading the grant of rights that the ACC has. And you're not getting the other picture with the ESPN agreement. That's all redacted. That's all covered under lock and key. What little we have of the ACC grant of rights is what we have to go with right now. It is like putting together a puzzle. You have to find every single jigsaw puzzle piece to complete the picture. Otherwise, you're not going to. So we need the details, the specific details of the ESPN agreement. If these court cases are going to go, if these court cases are going to go all the way, which is in doubt if you think about it. Now, point C here that I have is the ACC grant of rights enforceable? I'm here to tell you my opinion. No, they're not enforceable. $572 million of a payout fee or $700 million? Come on. It's unreasonable. It's outrageous. And there again, you look through the fine details of it, there's bound to be something illegal and contradictory in that. Now, when it comes to basic rights, you know, basic duties that, members like Florida State and Clemson give off to the ACC, I'm hearing figures of like around $140 million, something like that. And that would be much more reasonable in comparison to this $572 million. There is no way that if you get to the negotiation table that you have to go close to $572 million. It's just not possible. I'm sorry, it's just not possible. So, a basic bullet point that I have to provide here when it comes to the settlement figures, I've said this for months. Okay, speaking of settlement figures, I've been saying this all along for many months now that the appropriate range of money for Florida State to pay out to the ACC to get out of the ACC would be around $200 million. Now, obviously, that sounds like a lot. The average Joe or Jane cannot have anywhere near that much money, but Florida State is an institution and they can do it. And really, what is it to the ACC if they only end up getting $200 million? $572 million is just not sufficient. It's just not reasonable. That's basically, holding someone hostage and force them to pay way much than they ever would have for any other situation. So I'm thinking $200 million is a good settlement figure, and I stand by that. And this is just my opinion about that. But anyway, back to the ACC grant of rights. Is it enforceable? I don't think so, as I just mentioned. Um, it only mentions their agreements with ESPN. That should be a surefire clue right there. If it involved other networks, then it'd be more difficult to navigate through. But it's just ESPN. So keep that in mind. And for all of us watching this unfold, all of us, myself included, I'm guilty of this sometimes too. It's easy for all of us to misinterpret the language of a contract, especially when you're talking about a college, you know, sporting program getting involved with a conference. And as you're seeing here at the ACC, and as you saw like last year with the Pac-12, you know, it's easy to get wrapped up in all the language and word salad of what goes on in a contract, unfortunately. And that's why I say certain things like, dumpster fire clown show, because when you see things unfold the way they do, and you see all these board of governors, board of trustees people, all these faculty members in a college, and they react the way that they do, it really gets amusing. It's really amusing that these people, otherwise educated, act like they're not that educated at all about these specific topics. How much do you handle the money? How much do you handle a contract? How much do you know about a contract? What it even reads? What it even means? You know, when you're in a company, when you work in a business of any sort, college football or anything else, you have to know the language of the contract that you're signing and getting involved in. Otherwise, you have no business signing it. You have no business even writing it up, regardless of what side you're on. So, really understand the language of your contract before you sign it. That is definitely important. The ACC is basically saying, oh, we own your rights no matter what, past, present, future. And Florida State and Clemson are basically arguing the opposite, saying, no, you guys at the ACC headquarters, you need to read the fine prints of your own contracts. Read the fine print. There's certain terms, certain words that the ACC uses that members like Florida State and Clemson can use against them. And I do think that's why they're doing all this with the legal, you know, hearings, the legal court cases. And I do think they're going to use that to their advantage at some point, if we even get to the point of a trial. So another point here is Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody. I've also said this many times before. At first, I thought, oh, she's doing her job as an Attorney General. Good for her. But also, as I've come to realize throughout these last few months, she's been back and forth, kind of stalling here and there, and you're not quite sure what her intentions are. It sounds like on the surface she's supporting Florida State, and I would hope that's the case, but the actions have to line up. The actions just have to line up, and you know, I'm just weary of Ashley Moody and her intentions. What is she intending to do? Is there any substance? Is there any real substance behind what she's doing? That's all I have to say about that. So until I do see actual substance behind the actions of Ashley Moody, until I do, then I'm always going to be weary of her. What is she really doing? Or is she doing anything at all? And lastly, don't trust the legal system of North Carolina as a state. It's about money, politics, corruption, and things like that. So, yeah, tossing around all this money and using your politics to join a new conference like the Big Ten or SEC, if you're in North Carolina's case, that's why it's part of a clown show. It's part of a dumpster fire clown show. And corruption. Boy, don't we know all about corruption with politics. You've seen it all throughout with this conference realignment saga. So, yeah, these are just my thoughts initially about the ACC and what they're going through. I just really don't care anymore about the ACC either way. If they survive as a conference, woohoo. But they're not going to be what they were before. And if they implode, then it's not going to be all that surprising. But either way, college football is just going to go on. That's it. So there's a right way and a wrong way to go about doing things. And clearly, what you're seeing with these powers that be, so to speak, they're not handling it right. They're just not. So let me know what you guys think. I'll get back to you another time. This is Bobcat Corner. Hope you guys have a good day. See you later, guys. Oh, one more thing before we go. Okay, so we just have to do it. I might as well. Sylvester and Whitmore say goodbye. Goodbye.